Michael Bisping says he's down for Luke Rockhold Trilogy fight with a condition. Bisping, who's now 45 and hasn't stepped into the ring for over 6 years, is feeling a bit of a stir. Seems like an old foe has got him itching for a fight. On his podcast Believe You Me, where he was chatting with Anthony Smith, a former UFC light heavyweight title contender, Bisping dropped a bombshell. He's thinking of coming out of retirement for a third face-off with Luke Rockhold. But there's catch. The fight's got to be under karate combat rules. Just this past weekend in Dubai, Rockhold KO'd Joe Schilling, a seasoned kickboxer and ex-Bellator fighter, in the main event of Karate Combat 45. This was Rockhold's first victory in combat sports in a long while. Rockhold wrapped up his MMA career on a bit of a downer, losing 3 fights in a row after Bisping took his middleweight title at UFC 199. He came back after a 15-month break and managed to knock out David Branch in a main event, but then he suffered KO losses to Yoel Romero and Jan Blachowicz, and after a 3-year hiatus, he lost to Paulo Costa in August 2022. Bisping was submitted by Rockhold in 2014 in a main event in Sydney, but got avenged the loss when he upset Rockhold for the middleweight title. This is what he had to say regarding a third face-off.
Luke Rockhold, I was doing a live to it, and everyone was like, "You got to do the trilogy." I'll do Karate Combat against Luke Rockhold. I'll do it. I will have a trilogy with Luke Rockhold in Karate Combat. I would love to.
Why don't we book that? Let's just do that.
This is gathering momentum a little too quickly. Let me just see my hip doctor first and get my neck sorted.
Well, that's not what you said.
Yeah, no, I'm joking. I'm joking. I'd do it 100%. I would.
Okay, I'll call you after the show.
Let's go.
We'll get this booked.
We're going to Dubai.
The next show will be a fight announcement.
I'm coming back blind. I'm already walking into bloody walls.
Love him or hate him, one thing that we can agree on is Khabib Nurmagomedov is a man of his word and a loyal friend. In a recent interview, Khabib's longtime friend and teammate Zubaira Tukhugov has revealed how far Khabib was willing to go in order to get Zubaira a fight on the same card as Khabib versus Poirier at UFC 242. In the biggest fight of his career, Khabib and his team were involved in a brawl with McGregor's team, which included Zubaira, who punched McGregor after jumping into the cage. This action caused Zubaira a suspension and subsequently released from the UFC promotion. However, it wasn't long after he was brought back. Nobody has ever revealed it, Tukhugov told Red Corner MMA. "I got suspended, my contract was terminated." Khabib said, "Zubaira will fight first, then I will fight too." After the McGregor fight, the UFC really needed Khabib, so they gave me a new contract. They also promised to put me on the Abu Dhabi card at UFC 242 with Khabib and Islam. UFC CEO Dana White said they had no room for me on that card, Zubaira said, so they were going to let me fight in Moscow. He tried to make Khabib change his mind, but Khabib was like, "Okay, I'm going to rip this contract up now. I will give my spot on the card to Zubaira if you don't have it for him." It was his first really good payday. I said, "Please don't do that." Then Hunter called me and said he respected Khabib's decision and decided to remove a few fights to let me on the card. That's how I managed to be part of the event. Zubaira welcomed rising undefeated featherweight contender Lerone Murphy to the UFC at UFC 242, fighting to a split draw. He stuck around for 4 more fights afterwards before he was released again by the promotion following a split decision loss to Elvis Brenner in February 2023. Israel Adesanya will always respect Alex Pereira. Everything aside, Israel Adesanya praised Alex Pereira for helping him grow as a fighter. Adesanya finally got one back on Pereira after losing to him 3 times, twice in kickboxing and once in MMA, in their middleweight title fight at UFC 281. In their most recent meeting at UFC 287 in April 2023, Adesanya knocked out Pereira to reclaim his middleweight title. In a recent interview, the stylebender said his issue is more with Pereira's fans than Poatana himself. This is what he had to say.
You guys are cool.
I'm cool. I like Alex. It's the poor Tods that they're fucking, you know, as usual, you know, what they are. But yeah, no, I respect him, and I honestly, he's a special fighter. He's a special human being. What he's done in this game, in fighting, and for his life as well. And I'll always respect him, and I'm grateful for those moments because for me, it taught me so much about myself and where I can go. Similar like the Kelvin Gastelum fight.
Yeah.
It let me know
your limits. You're like,
you can go more.
Fucking die. Like,
let's go. And then that one, I was ready to die.
Yeah.
But this one, I just knew, I was like, there's no fucking way this guy. I swear to God, man. I was like, I would die. 4 times the try. Both times, and then I got it done. Then I knew, like, nah, Israel, there's levels. You can go more. You can go more. So stay tuned.
Anthony Smith has revealed some details about how his beef with Luke Rockhold was squashed. The beef between Smith and Rockhold started a few years ago when Ralph Lauren model called Smith a bum. Smith didn't take much notice until Rockhold criticized Smith for taking time off. That's when Smith went after him. According to Anthony Smith, all that is behind them, and now they are on good terms.
The last time I was on here with you guys, I was like, me and Rockhold were in this heated beef back and forth. Like, he would come on with you guys and talk shit, and then I was talking shit. Yeah. It's wild. It's cool though. He's actually a good dude.
So, okay, so we have to ask about this. So what happened? How did you guys go from, talking crap to like friends?
So the Jackson podcast, the owner of that company is really good friends with Luke. So then I went out and did the podcast, and he asked me about Luke Rockhold, not knowing that we didn't get along. And I immediately was like, fuck Luke Rockhold immediately. And he was like, oh, come on, man. Like, Luke's a good dude. And I was like, well, maybe in like an alternate world when you're not me. And then right before I fought Khalil, him and Luke Rockhold FaceTime me and were like, wish me luck. And I talked to him on the phone. And then we met up in Miami and had a drink about it. And it actually had a lot of fun with Luke that weekend.
Jose Aldo has confirmed UFC 301 will be his final fight on his UFC contract, hinting at a boxing match at Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson. Aldo, a UFC Hall of Famer and former UFC WEC featherweight champion, will end his retirement from MMA competition less than 20 months after his previously declared final fight, which was a unanimous decision loss to Merab Dvalishvili at UFC 278 in August 2020. Many questioned why Aldo 37 would return to MMA after hanging up the gloves and subsequently competing in a pair of boxing matches, which he said was much easier to train for in terms of physical toll. The reasons are twofold, with the most prominent being his refreshed energy towards stepping back into the octagon. The second element of Aldo's return is to finish up some business. He confirmed the clash with Martinez, which serves as the bantamweight bout of the May 4 card at Rio Arena in Rio de Janeiro, will mark the final fight on his current UFC contract. Aldo said he wants to see what opportunities are available to him after this.
Não, então a luta contra o Floyd.
No, that fight with Floyd Mayweather was basically all said and done. Ali was the one that was negotiating that, and I don't really know what happened, and it ended up not panning out for us to fight in Saudi Arabia. But there's a big event on Netflix later this year. Hopefully, I could get on that, but we have to see.
There's a lot of talk that this is the last fight on your UFC contract. Is that accurate? And I guess, have you thought about whether you want to re-sign, if so, or are you just wanting to get this fight done and then figure out what your options are moving forward?
Sim, eu acho que primeiramente é isso, né? Foi a mesma coisa que eu falei pro teamate, né?
That's basically what I told the UFC a few months ago. I want to do this fight, see where I'm at, see how I do, see how I perform, and then I can make a decision. I'm looking at maybe a big boxing fight somewhere down the line this year, but we'll revisit that with the UFC once this fight is done against Jonathan Martinez.